I'm basically a fifth grader. I got to take a moment from that song, if you don't mind. Awesome. Thank you, Don, Lethea, Ralph, Reverend Joanna, Dr. Tom, and everybody here for, inviting me back. Not that I went anywhere, I just haven't been here. Diana and I watch from beautiful downtown Makiki on Sunday, so we're connected in spirit. But it's good to be here. There is something about being in this place. And this is the second, I think, Sunday of Advent, and we shall light the big candle. And the peace candle shall be lit as well. What I have truly loved about Unity, especially this community, is that they took me just as I was, kind of bus up, and then nurtured this to have it become what it had come here to be. Of course, I had no idea what that was until I asked the question, why am I here and what's my gift? This place determined that, gave me the answers, and here I am. It also is very spirit-driven. You don't get ordained and then they hand you an envelope and a ticket to go to Poughkeepsie. It's, congratulations, and now go talk to Spirit. Well, I'm very grateful for that. Spirit has kept me here, because in weather like this, where I'm from, we'd have snow up to the second roof. So I'm very grateful. But I listen to Spirit, and when I do any of this, I listen to Spirit. Spirit tells me and guides me along my way. And I always listen to Spirit, but I also listen to Spirit when it comes in the form of Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, who I lovingly call Uncle Charlie. Well, Uncle Charlie came to me and said, son, I think you should go Unity old school and talk about the 12 powers. We have 12 powers that are in us, innate in us, and each month has a power. This is December, and it is life. Life. Life is the faculty of movement, vitality, and creativity. There is a disciple with every power, and this month's is Judas. Now, Judas was, in our humanness, we see him as being naughty. He did something very bad, but please understand this. I see Judas as doing what was his to do. If he did not do what was his to do, we wouldn't have this in this form. We may have this, but it would be different. So Judas did what he came here to do. Like it or don't like it. And the color is red. So it's wonderful. We have these powers, and we use these powers whether we know it or not. So it's an awesome thing. Charles Fillmore was brilliant, but I still say that Myrtle founded the movement and Charles took notes. That would get me in trouble, but I hope nobody's watching. This is the second Advent of Sunday, and I'd like to yak a little bit about the way of practical peace. Now, the way of practical peace, as I see it, is us becoming who we've come here to be. And in doing that, we get that presence of peace within us. And then once we have that presence of peace within us, we can put that peace outside of us and share it along the way. Now, we celebrate this grand and glorious season. We celebrate a Wayshower's birth. I'd like to invite us to also celebrate our Wayshowers that have left the earth, the other Wayshowers. I think that's important. Remember, Jesus, who we celebrate, never said, worship me. Never. What he did say was, follow me. He came to show us the way on how to live and how to receive that peace and how to be that peace. Remember, we're created in the image and likeness of God, and we are inherently good. So look around. We're all the same. Yet, look how uniquely and diversely beautiful we are expressing that sameness. And it is in doing that, we gain peace. Well, what is practical peace. Well, this is where I'm going to kind of make things up. I'd never heard of practical peace. Spirit said, talk about practical peace. And I said, great. Could you give me a little more info? I couldn't find much of any. So here we go. This will be the gospel of Leavitt, so to speak. Anyway, we'll get to that. But I have discovered, or I believe, I'm going to talk about practical peace being a way of living. Again, we have come here to be who we've come here to be. And when we live that, then we gain peace, and we put peace practically into our lives, and we share that with others. Micah 6:8 says it really well, and Micah 6:8 is my guiding scripture. And I'm going to give you the Gospel of Leavitt's version, which was this far away from making it in the book. This far, this close. And those guys got together, and they said, Leavitt, come on. I am still holding that in prayer. Join me in that, would you? Wouldn't it be great to have the gospel of, no. Anyway. Now, I have read many versions of the Bible. I'm not a biblical scholar or by any length of imagination. However, I like the Lamas version of the Aramaic. However, what I'm going to say is the Gospel of Leavitt's version. And if you know Micah 6:8, I look at it as being like this. How to live is really simple. Really simple. Have compassion for and be kind to yourself and your neighbors. Be generous with unconditional love. And then, wait for it. Get out of the way and walk with God. Okay, you might say that was pretty cool up until the get out of the way part. Guilty. Leavitt knows best. A lot of fun for you to watch, not any fun for Leavitt. But this practical peace is that way of living. When we have compassion for ourselves and for each other, when we're kind and gentle to ourselves and each other, when we behold our sameness as our connector, our commonality, and we share unconditional love, and then get out of the way and let God be God in, through, and as us. That's the gig. Now, at the last potluck, Jesus said, and by the way, I don't think there was any caterers, so they all brought stuff, right? He said, I'm having a concussion moment. He said, I've done some pretty cool stuff, but you'll do greater things, right? Now, he just wasn't talking to the 12, plus all the women in the room that we never talk about. Don't get me going, take a breath. But he was talking to all of us. Now, those greater things aren't necessarily things. What they are is becoming who you've come here to be. Now, we all have gifts and talents. And it isn't so much that we do those gifts and talents. Well, that's a good thing. The greater thing is when we do those gifts and talents from our consciousness of the Christ, of the divine, our divine nature. When we're in that consciousness and doing our gifts and talents, that is becoming who we've come here to be. And you'll know it because you won't be able to describe the feeling when you're doing it. You'll know it. It's the promise of purpose to do the greater things. And when we do the promise of purpose, we experience the joy of living, and I want you guys to do that and then come tell me what it's like, because you won't be able to. Because I stand here in front of you. I'm doing it now, and I can't explain it. Just that it's really cool. And I told some friends, and they pay me. Just saying. I do it for free. Oh, geez, I hope no one's listening. But our Wayshowers, we in this season we honor the birth of a grand and glorious Wayshower, but we've had Wayshowers our whole lives. And sometimes this season, it's difficult to have the season when those Wayshowers are no longer with us. Yet they showed us the way. They got us to here. And there's Wayshowers in the room, and there's Wayshowers right now that are helping us go forward. However, the ones that were here before got us to right now. If you don't mind, I'd like to share a couple of my Wayshowers. Two of my mom and dad. Look at Mom. She knew how to do church. Check that out. Had the gloves up to here, you know, the what do they call that thing? The flower that was bigger than my head. And then look at Dad. You could, the flat top was big. You got to land a plane on that hairdo. This was taken at the, I grew up Universalist. This was taken at the First Universalist Church of Rockland, Maine. And we sat in the back, because if you notice, my mom's in a wheelchair. We sat in the back. My dad was in this easy chair thing that was probably 1,000 years old, and I sat in a folding chair behind him. But anyway, Mother, you notice that she's in a wheelchair. She had multiple sclerosis, and she had what one would consider an extraordinarily challenging course of it, in that she could only use her left hand and arm, and she was right-handed. But I want you to know, she was all 4'11". All 4'11". And there was absolutely nothing that she did not do. What she showed, what she set the example of, is seeing and knowing that what is before me is for me. She didn't cave into this. She did not cave in. She did everything. There was nothing that my mother didn't do. And the resiliency in that. You know, I wake up and go, oh, geez, you know. And I go, shut up. What's wrong with you? Shut up. But the resiliency to move forward, to see any obstacles as opportunities for success, that's what my mom showed me. Resilience. And the coolest thing was, this was in the 60s, and coming into the late 60s, she got a battery-operated wheelchair. And then forget about it. Get out of her way. Wait a minute, lefty. And, you know, just she and Dad would have his adult beverage briefcase, and they're going down, and my mother smoked Philip Morris Commanders, right? And just she'd be puffing away like a locomotive. Down the road they'd go, visiting the neighbors. You know, we had a big van that was outfitted with some tubes to put her in, lock her in, and some ramps. But remember, this was before ADA, and there was no handicap parking. So we took a lot of grief for parking and, you know, getting Mom out of the van, right? But anyway, she was just an extraordinary woman. And again, all 4'11" of her. It was just something else. And she continues to show me the way. She comes and gives me a chat every now and then. My path wasn't exactly as how Mother was hoping it would be. But I'm reasonably assured that she's okay with it now, the end product, so to speak. The path, not so much. Dad, on the other hand, thought it was really cool. Well, now, speaking of Dad, the guy you can land a plane on his head, plus I'm bringing Dad back. I got the black glasses, huh? And he used to say, when asked how he was doing, he'd go, swell. So I'm walking around now going, how are you? Swell. My dad, 6'4". I thought I'd be 6'1", be a contender. I didn't do the math. 4'11", 6'4". Jeez, I got 5'10". I think I came out pretty well. But 6'1", man, I could have been a contender. But another story. My dad was really cool. He had this insatiable thirst for learning. Insatiable. Did I mention insatiable? And he had this group called the Chowder Society. A group of individuals that would meet once a month for chowder. By the way, nobody does chowder here. Please. I went from mother to chowder, so I know chowder. But we would meet, and Dad was reading everything. And he'd find an article that stimulated him, which was just about every one. He'd copy it, send it to us. And that Chowder Society would meet, and we'd have a discussion about the article. And I use the word we very loosely because it was mostly Dad having the discussion, because I asked at his memorial, I found the Chowder Society. I said, hey, boys, tell me the truth. Did any of you guys knew what he was talking about when he sent us those things? None of us. But to listen to Dad be so excited about it, it stimulated me to want to continue. He said, learning is living. And I had a real difficult secondary educational experience. And I vowed I'd never go back to school ever again. Never, ever. Well, I think over the years, G. Merrill's insatiability to learn kind of percolated down into baby boy, and I've discovered that I've never not been in school. It's like, what is up with that? And my brother, when I was in ministerial school here, my brother said, gave me the greatest compliment he could probably ever give me or anything. He said, geez, looks like you're turning into Dad. But another thing that my dad was really important on was he would say that, remember, that we are always influencing and touching each other's lives, always. We're never not doing that. We're never not in relationship with each other, never, ever. You might think you're not, but we are. And he would say, he said, son, realize it, but don't have it guide your behavior into manipulation. But drive your behavior into manipulation, but guide it into success. And it's very simple. You're walking down the street, somebody looks really bummed, you smile at them. You just smile at them. Well, now with your eyes because of this COVID thing. But just smile at them. You don't know what that smile could do for them. It could change their entire outlook on life. We influence each other and touch each other's lives all the time. Don't let it guide your behavior to manipulation, but don't let it drive behavior to manipulation. Let it guide it so that we can be successful. Mom and Dad were pretty smart. Again, 6'1" would have been the best. And among the other, this is going to be an interesting one, COVID. We're in the middle of COVID, correct? Look at that little bugger. Now, this virus has been traumatic in ways that we haven't even begun to understand. At least I haven't. I'm working on healing on this I will probably be working on healing on this for quite a while. As you may not know, I'm a hospital chaplain, so I've been working on this. And it has taken some of our greatest wayshowers. However, I have got a lesson from COVID. It has showed me something. COVID, age doesn't matter to COVID. Gender doesn't matter to COVID. Race doesn't matter to COVID. Religious belief or lack thereof does not matter to COVID. Rich, poor doesn't matter to COVID. Big, small, doesn't matter to COVID. Lifestyle does not matter to COVID. Masked or unmasked, doesn't matter to COVID. Vaccinated or unvaccinated, doesn't matter to COVID. Political affiliation does not matter to COVID. Then why? Why do these things not matter to a microscopic virus? Yet, they matter a lot to us. Why is that? This lesson has put me in an extraordinary learning experience. Thanks, Dad, and COVID. I've discovered unknown biases and known biases. None of that stuff should make any difference, yet it does. Why does it? Why does it? And I'm working on realizing, reconciling, and then releasing my known and unknown viruses. And every time I get to do that, I become more whole. And more I become more whole, the more peace I can be. COVID has taught me that. It has also taught me that to be comfortable in extreme uncomfortability. Because the threshold of uncomfortability is comfortability. What I'm finding is that I get comfortable, and then guess what's in front of me? Uncomfortability. Oh, isn't that pleasant? But this is something that I'm going through so that I can become more whole, so I can be more peace. And it's important. It's important to me. Thank you, COVID, for that. Anyway. And we've heard about the peace that passes all understanding, right? We've heard about that, right? It is normally, well, most often, associated with end of life. Okay, you have a sense that the individual who is now getting ready to transition is gaining an understanding of that peace that passes all understanding. And I would like to say that it's here right now. And it's spoken of, I think, in John 14:27, I think. And it says something like this. Again, I'm going to use the Gospel of Leavitt version. Peace I leave with you, peace I give to you. Not as the world gives, I give to you. Let your hearts not be troubled, and do not be afraid. Now, you can understand why that would be, for some, it would be very cool for having that reassurance as we leave this plane of being to go to the next. However, I believe it's right here and right now. Peace I leave with you. Peace I give, not as the world gives, but I give to you. And the key, let your hearts not be troubled, and do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become who you've come here to be, even if this is telling you ain't good enough, you're not this, you're not that. That peace that passes all understanding is within each and every one of us. And I can tell you how I discovered this. In the 8th grade, I had a NDE, a near-death experience. We were visiting my namesake, Uncle Leavitt. He was actually Big Lev, and I was Little Lev for all of, maybe 15 minutes. And then I immediately turned into bigger than Big Lev. But anyway, it was down at Little Ospey Lake in southwestern Maine. Nice lake, beautiful lake. And the camp was called the Pine Needle. Beautiful lake. Well, I was asked to take my 2 nieces out for a boat ride in the little aluminum outboard motorboat, right? Now, I hadn't done it a lot, but people were confident in me that I could do it. So we get in, life preserver up. Well, they do anyways. I'm got a sweatshirt on. And, I'm backing out, and I went over and I put the motor in forward, and it stalls. Well, I stand up, and I grab the pull cord. I give it a yank. Well, the motor starts, but guess what happens? The bugger's in forward. It starts to go. I get launched out of the boat. 2 nieces, little bitty nieces are in the front of the boat, and the boat's doing circles. Okay, boat's just doing circles. So I'm watching this thing, and I know there's a stop button on the motor. So I figure if I can get the stop button, we're good, right? So I'm timing it, and I reach up, and as I'm reaching up, the motor comes by, cuts me in the head. Then it grabs my sweatshirt. And now it starts to strangle me. And in that moment, there was a lot of commotion going on, but in that moment, just like that, there was nothing. Absolutely nothing. I looked up and I could see I was about 2 inches from the surface, and I couldn't touch bottom. It was still. There was nothing. And then what I saw was me as a toddler spitting watermelon seeds at my brother. And then that picture faded, and everything got kind of beige. And then I got a little brighter beige, and then a wee bit more brighter beige, and it was beginning to be white, get a little more white, and then wow, what's that? That's pink. And then a little more pink, pinkish, really pink, red, then red everywhere. And I remember getting lifted up out of the water, took a breath, went back in the water. They removed me from the propeller, put me on the deck, and now there's everything. Of course, I am letting people know that this is really awful. I'm screaming, Liz, no, to my mother's probably came out of a wheelchair. Everybody is just, there is a lot of activity now. But in that moment, and it was a moment. It was not very long, but to me, it was like it was 2 days. There was absolutely nothing, yet there was everything. It was extraordinary. And after an ambulance ride and a whole bunch of stitches, and then about 2 weeks later, the black mark around my neck went away. But what I got from that is when I go to the hospital and make visits as a chaplain, I get that same presence of peace. Now, there's noise everywhere. There's noise. However, the presence of that peace that I felt in that moment of being in that circumstance is with me every moment. And I'm going to boldly assume you don't need to go through an NDE to get that presence of peace. It's with you guys as well. And you guys. It's with everybody. Yet we don't know it. We don't know that it is. It's time to become who we've come here to be so we can experience that peace, be that peace, and then we can spread that out into the world. The world needs peace. And I think it starts, the way we can do this is setting an intention. I am very strong on what I intend to be shall come to be. I was looking for my keys one time. I'm looking all over the place for my keys. And I stopped. I said, what was I doing? My intention was looking. So what was I doing? I was doing a really good job looking. So I said, okay, let's find the keys. Oh. Let's find the keys. They're right there. So if our intention is to seek, we'll be seeking bound. If our intention is to find, what we seek shall be found. Intention is really important. We get to be who we've come here to be, folks. We get to do this. We get to be who we've come here to be individually, and we get to be who we've come here to be collectively. And we've done this. How I've discovered who I've come here to be, one of the ways, is the quantum living practice. It is a transformational practice that will have you discover who you've come here to be. You saw the quantum living qualities that the church has. You can get them for yourself, and also the shadow qualities. But this practice will allow you to discover who you've come here to be and who you are not, your shadow. And you can put those quantum living practices into place. You be them. That means you become who you've come here to be. You fill yourself with peace, and you give it out to the world. I invite you to take the quantum living practice. And that's a shameless plug because I'm a certified coach. I'm still doing sheets. Yeah, I do sheets all the time. It is a thing, but it's transformational. It really, really is. And this is the second Advent, day of Sunday of Advent, and it's peace. And from the booklet, from the Unity booklet, you should get this, download this, it's a great booklet. Their affirmation for today is, I can always choose peace. I can always choose peace. Would you speak that with me together? I can always choose peace. Let that sit in. Take a breath and let that fill you. Fill you. Can you feel that peace? It's within you. When you have a circumstance that's challenging, stop and take a breath. Call up that peace. Be that peace. You'll see the exact same circumstance from a different perspective. Be the presence of peace. Send that before you. And eventually we'll have peace on earth. Our Wayshowers of practical peace. Again, this grand and glorious season, we honor and celebrate our Wayshower's birth, and I would like us to also remember and celebrate our Wayshowers who have left this earth. On the table, you'll find a gift, and it is in remembrance and celebration of our Wayshowers. And you folks on the live stream, this gift is available to you to download on the church's website. And in celebration, in remembrance of our Wayshowers, let's prepare for meditation. I invite you to get comfortable as you're able. Maybe close your outer eyes or lower your gaze and breathe. Because it's the breath. It is the breath that takes us home to where we, God, love, and peace are one. In this grand and glorious season, we celebrate our Wayshower's birth. Let's also celebrate our Wayshowers who have also left the earth. They have completed what was theirs to do in their state of humanness and have returned to their essence, their state of spirit bliss. Their life's book has no back cover. When a chapter is completed, they go on to another. They have shown us the way to live life in joy that does not cease. They still light our way to living practical peace. And with this, let's rest in the stillness.